Paul, is that truck sleeping? Damn it, boy. That thing's laying there belly up with its guts ripped out. You think it's sleeping? What, you stupid? Hey people, you found the Hillbilly Voodoo channel. Today we're going to take this pile of 1969 Chevy 1-ton front end and we're going to turn it into an axle for our ultimate ATV. Is this going to work? I don't know. Do you know? Guess we're going to find out. See what kind of hillbilly voodoo we have to come up with to turn this into almost like a trailer style axle. Stick around and watch the riveting excitement or the fumbling stupidity and see what we come up with. So I think the first thing we're going to do here is disassemble all this stuff and see what we got to work with. I don't think we're going to need the control arms for anything. And well, we'll take the rim off and the tire so we can work with it a little easier. I think what we're going to end up using is the spindle and the part of the spindle that holds the brake. I don't know if the brake is going to help us out any on this build, but at least we'll still have the part that's there to hold that brake. And then we're going to have to somehow figure out how to join this spindle and backing knuckle and all this stuff to a tube to make an axle out of it. So I'm going to start disassembling all this, see what kind of nightmare I've gotten myself into, because yeah, it is super crusty and I'm pretty sure that some things are going to have to be either smashed or torched off to get it apart. But let's see where we get with this, and I'll bring you back when I got that spindle and knuckle and all that stuff separated from all the rest of this stuff that we're not going to use for this project. So I got a good one here for you guys. Got that one spindle all stripped down and in the machine here, lathe, got it machined to the size that I was going to use for the axle and all that, blah blah blah. And I figured, okay, well, it's not raining outside anymore. I'm going to go and strip that other one out. So I want you to take a good look at this. This is the hub with the brake rotor and everything on, the one that was in the lathe. Now, come on out here. Take a look at this one. I'm out here taking this thing apart and I got all the crap stripped off the back of it. And I'm trying to figure out why none of the tools that I was using on the other one are fitting on this one. So I get it all stripped out. I got all the crap laying there on the ground and I flip it over and I look. This hub is completely different. That's why none of the bolts were fitting. None of the tools were fitting on the bolts, is because somebody has put, I don't know which side they changed or what, but this hub is completely different. And then I started sizing up the control arms. One control arm is completely different. Yeah, so this isn't going to work for us. We have two different hubs. We got two different spindles. So this is pretty much a big waste of about 4.5 hours of stripping stuff apart and machining and all that crap. Guess that's the part of using ground obtainium, is you never really know what you got until you got it. Is that right, Finn? Yeah, Finn says it sucks too. But anyways, let's go and, well, I think I got a solution to this issue. I think. I'm gonna go check it out, see if it's gonna be a viable solution or if we're gonna have to figure out some other way to build an axle. So this here's my other solution. This is an old motorhome that we brought home just to have somewhere for people to stay on our property when they come to visit. Not that anybody ever comes to visit, but just in case somebody ever did come to visit. The transmission's blown up in it, and somebody forgot to put antifreeze in the engine, so it pushed all the frost plugs out. It's not really a roadworthy machine, but the inside's still really good shape. So for what it is, it's what it is. Now, it don't need a differential underneath to be parked where it's parked, and it's probably not ever going to move again. So we've got a full floater differential here. I've obviously jacked it up, took the tires off and stuff like that. Now this diff looks way larger than the one that we built the other axle out of, but it's the only real one that I got around, so it ain't doing nothing here. So maybe it can do something good and useful for us. I'm gonna chop this one out of here. We're gonna drag it out somehow and take it in the shop and see what we can do with it. Stick around and watch some hillbilly voodoo in action here, because removing this thing's going to be not exactly a precision maneuver. Yeah, that's what we'll call it, not a precision maneuver. It's going to be more art than science, I think. So yeah, I'll set you up on a tripod here. Maybe you can watch me slither around like a snake in the goat poop underneath this motorhome. That'll be pretty entertaining for you. Can't say it's going to be too entertaining for me, but yeah. Anyways, I don't really know what you guys are going to be able to see of me cutting these U-bolts and stuff out from underneath this, but use your imagination. We'll call it the interpretive dance, hillbilly in the dirt. Yeah, that's what we'll call it. Maybe I can try out for the Olympics. You guys are ever cutting U-bolts, don't ever stick your face directly above the U-bolt, because they are under a crap load of strain and they sometimes go flying. Now this is where the artistic part comes in. When you cut the U-bolts, you can't always cut them all the way through because there's so much tension on them, so you got to kind of take them out in chunks. Unless, of course, you want to go through the hassle of jacking the differential back up and doing it that way, which I don't want to do, so we'll do it this way. Don't put your squishy parts underneath here, because this is going to fall down. We'll go cut the other side off and hopefully that will fall down. Well, here comes the real artistic part, how to wiggle the differential out from underneath the motorhome without knocking it off the blocks and without wrecking the differential. So how's that for excavating treasures, eh? Mind your business, guys. There's nothing to see here. Just some crazy hillbilly packing a gigantic differential all by himself. If it wasn't for this hydraulic helper, I probably wouldn't be able to do many of the projects that I do. And I don't even know if I'd want to do them. So I'm going to back this down to in front of the shop here and see if we can make the same axle out of this as we made out of the other one. Hope you're not getting seasick. I guess it would be excavator sick, not seasick. So I just realized that some of you might not even know what the heck we're doing. Well, if you look at that little tiny picture right there, kind of looks like a Sherp, doesn't it? It's going to be the ultimate ATV, and we're building it out of ground obtainium, the junk that we have laying around here on the ground. Now we're going to back up the bus here a little bit and explain what we're doing, and hopefully we won't run any of you over while we're backing it up. But yeah, if you aren't subscribed and you like this type of thing, then maybe you should subscribe now so you can follow this build along. Give me a thumbs up, that kind of stuff. So anyways, let's back up here. This is the axle that we built last time. We took pretty much the same differential that we just pulled out of that motorhome. We chopped the pumpkin out of the center of it, made it the length, or sorry, the width that we need to go over our two frame rails here, so that we have the outside of our tires got to be within 8 feet, like under 8 feet, so that it's legal on the roads around here. Now, we're going to make the same axle as we have right here. Now, I'm sure that there's some people out there that are wondering, well, why am I chopping the pumpkin out of it? Why aren't we just driving it with the differential and the axle? We're using a Robson style drive to start out with. That's the first part of this project that we're going to attempt, is a Robson drive, which if you look on that picture right there, there's another little round circle in the center of those two big wheels. That little round circle is going to be another drive wheel that's going to drive the two bigger wheels, so that we don't have any power actually going to the axles. I'm hoping I'm not losing any of you guys that are new, but I'm pretty sure you can figure it out. Now, with this Robson drive, if this does not work, I do have a backup idea. The fact that these are more or less a full floater differential without the differential in the middle here, if all this idea is not working, we can chop those tubes off, block on the inside of the frame. We can put a bearing on the inside, put the axle back through, run a sprocket on the inside, just like a Sherp does. We can go back to their tried and true, well, I don't know if it's all that tried, but seems to be true method. Just like a Bobcat type skid steer, they got a sprocket on the inside of the axle and it spins like that. The only reason I didn't want to do that is because we have a really big tire driven by a really small axle. But like I said, if the Robson drive doesn't work, then we can go and do that. Now, we can also use that axle there, or we can drive it with a hydraulic motor. I do have an old man lift that's hydraulically driven out there, and we could ultimately use that axle that goes through the inside of that tube, and we could put a hydraulic motor. But we don't want to do that. We want to keep this really simple if we can. So enough of the babbling. I'm going to go start tearing that differential apart. I think we're going to leave the brakes and everything on that one because the brakes are complete. And if you guys are sort of lost, you haven't been following along, go back and watch the first episode of this. It'll kind of sort of give you an idea of what we're doing, where we're going, all that kind of thing. Hope I'm not boring anybody with all this yapping. So I'm going to go out there and pull that diff down to a point where it's manageable to get it in the shop here and work on, and hopefully build another one of these axles out of that. I got our other axle stripped down to our axle tubes here. I took the brakes off. I left the mounting spot on there. Hubs, brakes, backing plate, all that stuff. Left it all in one piece so I can put it back on. Now these tubes are substantially longer than the other tube that I started out with. So instead of having to add a piece in the middle here, I'm gonna have to take, well, I've started machining already. Now I've machined this one down enough that I'm going to bore the other one out and slide them in together, weld them up. It'll make it a little bit easier than adding that piece in like I did on the last one, but it's definitely quite a bit more machining because these tubes are a lot thicker and stuff. I think I'm getting a little bit better at this machining thing with this lathe and figuring out how most of it works. Haven't really been using it all that much. Well, I have been using it all that much, but I haven't really got a lot of experience on this one, so it's getting there. Now I'm gonna take this tube out of here, put the other one in here, and bore it out so that it will, like I said, slide over the top, and we'll be able to weld it together in the length that we need. Yeah, does that sound like the plan? Well, sounds like the idea. Let's get to it. Got our axle tubes all machined up here and slid together, and they turned out the same length as the other axle. But for some weird reason, something is nagging at my brain and telling me that before I weld this together, right there, that maybe I should put the hubs back on both of these axles and make sure that the wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface is the same on both of them. I don't know, maybe after spending a day and a whole bunch of machining time on that front end idea, maybe checking all this stuff out before I final weld this thing might be a good idea. So I'm gonna plop those hubs back on here and measure my wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface and make sure that's right first before I get all stupidly excited and have to take this all apart after welding it. I got our hubs reassembled on both of these axles here. Now let's measure from wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface on both of them and make sure we're close before we decide to weld that together. Because the way luck goes, they won't be. So we got 57 and a half. crap. We go 57 and a half. And I guess we must have did something. Must have did something right, because we're like, yeah, right on the money. I think maybe we won't even trust that thing. We'll try another tape measure. Yeah, 57 and a half. That's weird. Yeah, we're perfect. So, I'm gonna weld this off camera. We're probably gonna leave this video here. Wasn't really much different than the last video, except, yeah, we did a whole bunch of work on the front end parts that were no good, and we ended up probably with a better solution anyways. So, till next time, guys, use what you got to make what you want. Thanks for watching.